Hey guys, this is NST Never Stop Traveling, and today we're going over how not to get ripped off and lose all your cash when you're traveling. In this video, I will do just that. I will teach you guys how not to get ripped off when you're traveling and be able to save more money so that way you can travel longer. When you get to a new city or a new country, it's crazy. You can take your money and you can exchange it for other money, and you might exchange like $1 and you might get, I don't know, say 2,000 Indonesian dollars. Like $1 to 2,000. That looks like you have a lot of money. You're like, oh cool, I have all this money, but you don't really know how much money you have, and you end up spending, you spend up $100 when you think you have, I have hundreds and thousands of Indonesian dollars. I can spend money all day. But if you don't know how much your money's really worth, you don't really know how much you're spending, and then all the tourist traps, they'll trap you and you'll spend all your money. And then you won't be able to stand your trip. You might be in Bali for a week and you'll be like, oh, I'm gonna stay here for a month. And before you know it, you don't got any money left. Haggling. You have to haggle. When you guys go to buy something in a foreign country, they'll try to rip you off. They'll be like, they might buy it for 10 cents, right? Maybe they'll buy it for a penny, this person selling you the stuff. And then they'll go to you and you'll walk down the street and you'll be like, oh, that looks cool. How much is it? And they'll say $10. And you're like, wow, that backpack's $10? That's a really good price. But they got it for a penny. I'm exaggerating. I'm overly exaggerating, but you get what I'm going at. Like they'll be like, hey, they'll try to sell it to you for $10 and you'll be like, yeah, that's a great price. You'll be like, yeah, I'll get that backpack. I need a new backpack. And then before you know it, you're spending all your money when you could have haggled that price down. The guy still could have made a lot of money for him, because like maybe $1 you can buy a meal there, and or $1 you can buy a couple meals there for a day. But you haggle with him. And so how you haggle is if you are an individual who's trying to sell me something. So say you're an individual and you're trying to sell me something, or I'm trying to buy something from you. You might say that it's, I don't know, 100,000 Korean dollars. 100,000 Korean dollars, you think, wow, that's a lot of money. But you look in your wallet, you're like, oh, I have a couple 100,000 Korean dollars. And you remember, I went to the ATM and I got $200 worth of currency. So that's $200,000 or 200,000 Korean dollars. And, you'd be like, I can get a new suit for 100,000 Korean dollars, when maybe you could get it for half that price. You'll never know unless you try to haggle. So what you do is you go to the person and be like, 100,000, that's too much. Maybe 20,000. And the guy will be like, no way, I would never sell it to you for 20,000. And then he'll be thinking in his head, let's see if I can get him at a lower price. And you'll be like, yeah, it's just too much for me. And you'll stop looking at that item. You'll look at something else, and he'll say, oh, I'll give it to you for 80,000. And you'll be like, no, it's still too much. And then you start walking away. You'll be like, okay, here, I'll give it to you for 50 or 40. And that's one way of doing it. Or you could just try to negotiate back and forth, and he'll say, you say 20,000, and he says, I'll give you for 90,000. I'll be like, no. Sometimes I'll try to see if I can get a bunch of things. I'll be like, okay, let's see. What if I buy 10 of them? If I get 10 of them, will you give me two for 500,000? That's 50,000 each. So he'll be like, yeah, 500,000. That's a lot of money. And you'd be like, okay, well, I can get them for 50,000 each. And then you'd be like, well, and you look at other things. You look around for a bit, and you'd be like, actually, I'm just gonna get one. But you said 500 for 50 each, so I'll just get. I just get one for 50,000. And you didn't get it for 20,000, but it wasn't the initial $100,000 price. So instead of spending, $100, you spent $50. You save 50%. If you did that your entire trip, instead of traveling for 1 month, you'd be able to travel for 2 months. So haggling is a big deal when it comes to traveling. You have to haggle. If you don't haggle, you will lose out on a lot of deals. I have friends who are big travelers and they don't know how to haggle. There's a lot of countries where you have to haggle. It's part of the culture. If you don't haggle, you just get ripped off. And that's why they love foreigners sometimes. They just love ripping off foreigners. They love taking their money. If I ask you for if you have no idea how much something's worth, and in my currency I ask you $100 for it, and you're like, yeah, because your currency, you're from Australia and your currency is really strong, be like, yeah, $100, that ain't bad. And you give me $100 for something that I'd sell to a local for $10. I mean, like, you're kind of getting screwed. You got 10 of that items for 100. Even if you're spending $20 on that item, I'm still ripping you off, but you're getting a good deal for your currency. So it's like there's that middle ground. You're always gonna end up paying a little bit more than the locals pay, but you will get a better deal than just paying it for the initial price, the first price you hear. Great example. When I was in Indonesia, I was on the beaches, and there's all these little soda stands. And I watch, whenever I buy something in a foreign country, I watch a local buy it. After I watch a local buy it, I observe, okay, he's spending, 5,000 or 10,000 Indonesian dollars, which is like 50 cents on a drink. Like, all right, so that's how much I'll spend on a drink. And then I went to a stand, I said, I want this soda. And they said 20,000. I'm like, I just saw him buy it for 5,000. And they're like, I just saw him buy it for 10,000. Like, oh yeah, that's local price. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that. And so I walk up and down the beach until I find someone who'll sell it to me for 20,000 or for 10,000. And so I walk to the next stand, they say no. I walk to the next stand, they say no. Walk to the next one. I'm like, will you sell it to me for this one? And they're like, okay, yeah, I'll sell it to you for that. But sometimes they won't do that. I've been in places before where they have a set price, they agree with everybody else on the beach, we won't go lower than this price unless they're locals. There's the local price, and then there's the tourist price. So you always want to try to pay the local price if you can. Sometimes you just can't get away from that. They're going to charge you a little bit more just because you're a tourist, especially if they have agreement with other people. That usually doesn't happen. You can usually haggle it down and pay a fair price. Like if they buy it for, you'll pay maybe 50% more than they bought it for, or 100% more than they bought it for. That's still really great on their deal because they're making 50% profit or an 80% profit instead of making a 900% profit. It's like they're still making money, and you might say, oh, you're just being cheap. And like, no, I understand that this is the value of the item and this is the price that he got it for, and there's supply and demand, and it's, I don't know, you're playing that into it. I have a friend who he won't haggle because he thinks that it just doesn't. I actually know a lot of people who are like this. They don't like to haggle because they're just not used to that. They're used to seeing a price and they're used to paying that price. In the States, that's great, but when you're in a foreign country, they'll try to charge you United States prices, but when you're in their country, it's not, it doesn't sell for that much. I don't know, I'm ranting too much. You kind of get what I'm saying when it comes to haggling. You gotta haggle, learn how to haggle. Now, taxis. Taxis are a big one. They'll try to screw you over. When you're traveling, you go into a taxi and I've already said this before, they might try to put your bag in the trunk. If you can at all avoid it, if you can fit it on your lap, if you can put it in the seat next to you, put it in the seat next to you, because sometimes they'll say it's okay, we'll get you from point A to point B for $5 or $10, whatever it is. And then when you get there, they're like, oh no, I'm going to charge you more. It's $20. I don't speak English. It's $20. And you'll be like, no, I'm not paying you $20. You said $5, and then you put a 5 down, and then you go to leave, but you left your bag in the trunk. That sucks. He won't give you your bag back until you give him your money. And then you're in a dilemma. You have to give him the $20 before you can get your bag back. But if you put the bag on your knees, you can throw it on the 5 and you can leave. Also, a lot of taxis in Asia or different countries, they have their meters and they have this little cloth. They pull this cloth over the meter. And if you don't watch out for this, then they'll just tell you a price when you get to a destination. And a big way to keep them from doing that is to be like, hey, I see the cloth, pull it off. I'll only pay by meter. They'll start driving and they won't touch the meter, they won't turn it on, or they'll put the cloth over it and be like, meter, I only go by meter. And they'll be like, fine. Or they'll say, no, I only do this price, the meter doesn't work. Then you just get out of the vehicle, be like, stop, I'll get out. I ain't gonna pay for a taxi for you. And they'll be like, fine. We'll open up the meter. And then they'll hit the meter or whatever. But another thing they do, and they do this everywhere, United States, Asia, South America, everywhere you go, Europe, they do this. Depending on their honor, but a lot of places, they'll go, you have a point A and you have point B, your point A and your point B, and they'll go in a big roundabout way to get you there. Be like, oh, this is traffic, this is better. But if you have Google Maps, it works in most places around the world. You can search point A to point B and find out the distance, find out the quickest way. And a lot of way to keep them from doing that is you say, and they'll ask you, where are you going? I'm like, oh, I'll just tell you. And they'll be like, no, I don't understand. No, I'll tell you how to get there. And then when you're driving, you tell them to go left here, you go right there. You're following your GPS. So that way they can't screw you out if they're giving you a meter price. But to beat that on top, you can always just ask for a set price. If you've been in that area for a couple days and you know that for a half an hour ride it costs $3 or $1 or $5, you can be like, I want to go from here to here for $3. And if they say yes, they roll down the window, they ask you where you're trying to go, you tell them where you're trying to go, they tell you a price, and you say that's too much or too little, whatever. I'm never too little, but you say, oh, that's too much. I'm only going to do this much to go there. That's what other taxi drivers say. You say, oh, I have a friend. He'll get me there for the better price. He's like, yeah, good luck. And then you go to the next guy, and they'll be like, yeah, I'll get you there for that. You can get in a tuk-tuk, or you get on the back of a motorbike, or you can do another taxi, and they'll take you to that destination for that price. If you know the local price, that's the price you pay. And especially at airports, you always want to be really careful at airports because they always try to upcharge like crazy, especially if the taxi drivers know that's the only place that you can get a ride from point A to point B. Like I had a layover in Bangkok and I wanted to go see the Star Wars movie last year and I wanted to get to downtown and there was a bunch of taxi drivers and like, hey, we're the only way to get there. I'm like, no, I know how to walk. And I walked and I knew where the bus station or the bus stop was with my Roam to Rio app. And so I got on the bus, I went to downtown Bangkok, saw my movie. I had an 8-hour layover. I was able to get dinner, see a movie, meet a friend, and then catch up with a friend, and then go back to the airport, check in, do whatever, relax a little bit before I had to catch my flight. And I didn't have to spend, that $30 or $20, which is outrageous when you can get a taxi down there for $5 or something. They'll just try to upcharge you like crazy because you're a foreigner, you're at the airport. They just know that foreigners they generally don't know how much things cost, and they'll try to upcharge you. So you always got to be careful with taxis. But the biggest way not to get ripped off in general, guys, it's pretty easy. Just be smart. Go on Google, go on forums, look up, hey, I'm going to this country. What's the average price for a taxi from point A to point B? Go on Roam to Rio, find out the prices from different locations. Check out the buses, check out the trains, check out the taxis. Sometimes the bus is, generally buses are cheapest and they're maybe they're the longest. But I've seen on trips where it's like the train is the cheapest and it's the shortest time. Maybe it's the same price as the bus, but it costs less. Or a taxi versus an Uber. An Uber might cost you $20 and a taxi might cost you $6. And people will be like, oh, in the States, Ubers are cheaper, so I'm going to go on an Uber. Or they say, this is cheaper, depending on your city or whatever. And you go and you find out that in this place, that taxis are cheaper. Maybe they don't have that many Ubers. Maybe they don't have that many Gets. And different countries have different ordering services for rides. Like in Thailand, and I think it was Thailand or Cambodia. It was Cambodia, Thailand, one of those countries in Southeast Asia. Maybe it was Indonesia. You could order, actually a bunch of those places, you could order through different apps. You can order a ride through a taxi, on the back of a motorcycle, or through a bus. It was like a big van of people. And depending which one you chose, it was a cheaper price. Maybe if you went on the back of a motorbike or a scooter, it might cost you 50 cents to go for a 15-minute to 30-minute ride. But if you get in a taxi and the roads, they're a lot smaller, so it's a little bit more difficult, they take more gas, they might charge you $5 or $10 for that same ride. And that's one thing if you're going to the airport, you have a lot of luggage, but you just gotta do your research. If you do your research, you'll figure out which is the best ways to get around, the cheapest ways to get around, how not to get ripped off. It's just all about practice, guys. Like, do your research, be smart about it, and you'll be set. Seriously, guys, that's it. Just Google it if you have any problems, or send me a message, ask me, I'll help you out. Be like, hey, I'm going to this country. If I've been there before, if I know somebody's been there before, I'll try to reference you, just try to help you out. But otherwise, guys, I really hope this helps out. If you got any feedback on this video, if there's anything that I missed or anything I said wrong, just let me know in the comments below. If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, you can go to the description box down there. I also have my Patreon. If you guys want to subscribe and like, that'd be awesome. And guys, hope you enjoy your day. Take care. Peace out.